You're listening to the Overcast. Sunshine on a cloudy day. Part of the Oversoul Gaming channel. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Overcast, your joke-making, fun-having pop culture podcast. I am your host, Justin, aka Oversoul.
And I am your co-host, Nick, aka the Vaping Queen.
Yes, and one of us talks like an auctioneer, and the other one talks like the sloth from Zootopia. And we're always bringing you sunshine on a cloudy day.
Yeah.
Also, apparently, the sloth also has delayed reactions.
I guess.
So, it's been rainy out here, but for you, the weather might be different now because something big happened recently in your life. So why don't you kick us off?
Yes, it did. So, y'all, it finally happened. My daughter and I have moved to Des Moines, Iowa. And so far it's been nice. It's being out on my own again with some special Sarah. Yes, we moved in with my girlfriend Sarah.
So not on your own, but
Not on my own, but yeah.
Yeah, not technically.
Not technically on my own, but you know what I mean. But man, dude, and today I started a new job. Or yesterday I started a new job. Yesterday I had orientation. Today was my first real day on the job.
Okay.
And bro, dude, it's been so long since I've worked an 8-hour shift. It's been so long. Like, the last time I worked an 8-hour shift was, March 10th of 2023. That's when I was doing security at Amazon.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
dude, it's and I was doing overnights. I've got a morning job now. I'm 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yes.
I'm a day walker again.
Your shift starts when the third shift ends.
Uh-huh.
Like you're probably walking right past the previous shift on their way out, on your way in.
So I went to get dressed this morning, right? And like my belt that I have had for I got some good years out of it. But it was a belt that I got from Amazon. I realized it was falling apart, and I realized the pants that I had put on don't stay up the greatest without one. So when I got to work, I bought a belt. Before shift, because that was a necessity. I stock the shelves in the mornings, and any extras that I have that doesn't fit, I put up on the top shelf, like for where the top stock goes. But no, like, dude, this store that I work at has this app that, dude, when they said they would give you literally everything that you need to be successful, they were not kidding. Like, they have this app. I'm not going to disclose the name of this app because that would disclose the name of the store. But it's an app that basically, it's your key to success. I helped so many customers today, and prior to working here, I had no idea where anything was in this store. But I helped customers today like I knew this store like the back of my own hand. because of this app. And until I can get a store device, I'm using the app on my personal phone. Um,
Convenient.
yeah, it's dude, down to the very tag. Like I can type in a specific item and I can type in the specific item and it'll tell me down to the very tag where its exact location. Like,
Okay.
dude, this thing is amazing. It makes it so easy. And
Yes. There used to be a time where people got in trouble for being on their phones at work. Now you need it to work.
right, yeah, exactly. Dude,
And
like
that's not you need it other places too. Like it's rude to have your phone out at the when we're out eating, but like there are restaurants where you literally have to scan a QR code to get the menu.
yeah,
Like
exactly. Exactly.
what can I say? We live in the digital
Yeah,
age.
we do. Oh man. Dude, we went to go eat at this place. Sarah took me and my daughter to this Mongolian grill called Hoo Hot. And oh
Okay.
my god. My daughter even loves it. Like she devoured her food. Like, okay, so what you do is you go through the line, you get what you want, and you go with your meats, your noodles, your veggies, and then you got your sauces. So what I got pork, chicken, and mild sausage, and I got Chinese noodles. Um, and then I got the roasted corn medley, and I did 4 ladles of sweet and sour and 1 ladle of garlic oil. And then you take it over to the grill and they cook it right in front of you and they plate it up. Dude, this shit was fucking good. Oh my god. And when my daughter I got my daughter's food first though, and she got mild sausage, wheat noodles, pineapple, 4 ladles of sweet and sour, and 1 ladle of garlic oil. And because my daughter has food allergies, she has dairy and soy allergies, they cleaned a specific spot for her food on the grill right in front. Like, dude, that's so that there's no cross contamination. Dude, that's fucking awesome. Yeah,
Nice. That does sound
dude.
good.
And
I
we're going again on Tuesday because Tuesday is my daughter's birthday and Sarah's family does something every year for everyone's birthday. Whoever's birthday it is, they get to choose where they want to have their birthday dinner. And my daughter chose Hoo Hot.
Okay.
I'm not gonna complain. It's fucking delicious.
Hey. Well, there you go. At least I
My
mean, at least she didn't choose, like McDonald's or something.
right, dude. I'm glad she. Dude, I'm not gonna complain.
Right. Right.
It's fucking good.
Um
Like,
it does sound
and
good.
then
I for some reason though, every I can never think of Mongolian food or Mongolians in general without thinking about that one South Park episode where the owner of Shitty Wok had beef with the
yes.
Mongolians. He's like, "Goddamn Mongolians!"
Welcome to Shitty Wok. Want to try shitty chicken?
Yeah, it was that was something else.
It was.
Don't you fight them in the game too? Don't you have to
You do.
climb the tower?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to fight the Mongolians too.
Yep. That's what I meant. You fight the Mongolians as a side quest for him.
Yes. Yes, you do.
You gotta climb to the top of the tower and then beat the boss. That's right. Alright.
Oh my god.
So what's
This
else
is
happening?
So, dude. Oh. So yeah, my daughter's birthday's on Tuesday. But we are celebrating it on Wednesday by going to a theme park located in Altoona, Iowa, right next to the store that I work at, called Adventureland. I'm excited. I am so
Nice.
excited for this.
Unfortunately, I don't think you'll meet Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart there because I think they worked at the one
No.
in New York.
Yes. That. Yes, that was the one that was based on the one in New York.
And also in 2009,
That too.
which in 5 years will have been 10 years ago.
Dude, don't remind me.
Oh, shit. Oh, I love it. I love it. You remember when
Wait. You
SNL
said
had
how
that
many years?
in 5 years? No, it'll have been 20 years ago, actually.
I was gonna say I just went to my 15-year high school reunion and I had graduated in 2009. I'm like, wait, huh?
No. Yeah, you're
Something's in
right.
my
It would have
head.
been. It would have been
Numbers make my
20.
head hurt.
Yeah, no, that they did, but you were actually right this time. You know, you, your number confusion actually worked to your advantage here. Uh,
It sure
yeah,
did.
no, you are right. 20 years. That would be
20
20
years.
years.
I was gonna say, huh?
um, but yeah, that would be. You remember how SNL had their like 40-year anniversary special?
Yes.
They had like all those celebrities on, and they like brought back really old skits like
Yup.
Wayne's World and shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming up on 50 years now.
Dude, what do you think they're gonna do for their 50-year milestone?
I don't know, but I hope it's good.
They gotta do something big. They gotta bring back Pete. Pete Davidson has to come back.
I would hope so. It's just
I
whoever they
hope
can
so
get.
too.
Like there was an ass load of celebrities in that
Pete
last one
da-
they did.
like
So
they need like since Mike Myers is doing another Shrek movie, he might as well come back as Wayne from for Wayne's World. Dana Carvey could come back as Garth and
yes,
do
they
something
could.
similar do something similar to what they did for the 40-year anniversary.
Speaking of which, you remember when I told you about when I brought up the Lonely Island and Seth Meyers podcast on the Media Corner a few episodes back?
Yeah.
Their most recent episode, Andy Samberg and Akiva were not there. But it was Seth Meyers and Yorma Takone, and instead they brought on Will Forte and then one of the old writers from the show,
Okay.
John something, and John Solomon, I think his name was,
Okay.
um, and they talked about MacGruber, the old skit that Will Forte used to do that was a parody of MacGyver that got a full-fledged
Oh,
movie.
nice.
Um,
I remember
one
MacGruber.
of those movies based on an
MacGruber.
SNL skit. Yeah, and he would always explode at the end, like he never got it right.
Yes.
They would all just die every time.
Uh-huh.
Yep, yeah. So they talked about the making of that, and I thought that was pretty
That's
fun.
awesome.
So yeah, they've moved pretty far ahead. They talked about Laser Cats. They did an episode talking about the Dick in a Box song with Justin Timberlake. Um, yeah, so that's been great. So yeah, it would be cool to see them do something. But all right, well, it sounds like after the move, you've had some good stuff going
Dude,
on. But pretty
I'm so glad to be working full time again. I'm just I don't. The part time was a struggle, even though it was even though I was getting paid weekly, it was still a bit of a struggle.
right. Well, I can tell, and I'm sure the audience can too, that it sounds like you had a normal week for a change. Like everything's good because like
Yeah,
e-
everything's
even though you will usually only focus on the good on the show, there's always this sense of uh, sporadicness coming off of you in the sense that you can tell that it's been a busy and stressful week. uh, you,
yeah. No, dude,
you know,
this week has been nothing but productive. Like we got a lot of Sarah and I got a lot accomplished. Last night we went through the we got our closet organized and taken care of. We got my daughter's closet organized tonight before hopping on here, before putting her to bed.
Nice, nice.
We had, let's see, we had tacos for dinner tonight.
Ooh, good stuff.
Yeah. We had homemade pizzas the other night. She's got me back on a regular sleeping schedule, so I'm getting up in the morning when she does. I kind of have to now because I have a morning job.
Right.
But her and I usually lay down at the same time too, so
That works out though, because
it does.
having completely different schedules can really screw with things.
It really can.
I know from experience from the past, so
Yeah. No, it definitely can.
so
It can make making things work difficult.
right. But hey, sounds like everything is balanced out in a perfect way.
It really has, dude.
Definitely giving off happy and laid back vibes. It's noticeable.
Abso-fucking-lutely, man. I haven't been this happy in a long time.
That's how I've felt recently. So I get you. I get you. I mean, there's more steps on my end that can be taken in the future, but as of right now, it's really good. So, all right. Speaking of which, if that's all you had,
what's going on with you, bro?
So yeah. On that note, so Sky and I did something real special lately in our trophy hunting stuff that we've been doing. We finally got and it's gonna be a little bit before we get to the Devil in Me, because after getting the platinums in Man of Medan, Little Hope, and House of Ashes, she needs a break from the series for a bit, and we're gonna play It Takes Two next. And I can understand that, because look, Man of Medan is great, House of Ashes is great. Replaying both of them several times to see all the different outcomes is great, because there are pretty significant outcomes. You know, in House of Ashes, when you're fighting off all those enemies at one point, if the Ancient One throws this, if you let Rachel get in, or if you save Rachel from the thing on her when you're Salim, if you shoot the one on her instead of the one coming at you, she gets extra scene with Eric and Nick where she helps them fight off the Ancient One, and then he chases them. He throws a spear. He throws a spear at one point, and if you miss the QTE and that spear hits Rachel, she gets pinned to the wall, and he comes up and infects her personally, and then she becomes his little pet for the rest of the game. And that ended up with a completely significantly different, I've seen one cutscene in that game have 7 different outcomes. So
isn't Rachel the one that's played by
Ashley Tisdale?
Ashley Tisdale, yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah. Yep. Yeah, the B-list celebrities they use for the box art are the only characters who are unique to each of their games. All the other character models they use, they keep reusing in each game. They keep like Salim's Captain Dar in House of Ashes is the same character model as John in Little Hope.
Okay.
And Clarice is the same character model as Taylor, and Nick is the same character model as Alex from Man of Medan. Stuff like that.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah. But anyways, so we got our platinum trophy in House of Ashes at the same time. We were doing co-op for a lot of it. Some of it you have to do by yourself, but we did co-op for a lot of things because it made it easier. And the last trophy we got was called Ain't Got Time to Bleed, which is for getting out of the vault. Not out of the whole thing, but out of the vault where Nick plants the C4 at the end without any lingering injuries. And the only way you get that is because Nick gets a story-related injury anyways. You have to find Joey's med kit earlier in the game laying around, and if you do, then you can patch Nick up during a later chapter, and he'll come out unscathed, and as long as you don't mess up any other QTEs, the other characters will too. That's the last thing we did, and we were planning this down to a T. I had like a list of steps we were gonna take. I was like, all right, in this playthrough, we're gonna get Rachel infected, then we're gonna leave her in the cocoon, and then we're gonna get everyone killed so she stays there, and we'll get that trophy. And then like in this playthrough, we're gonna get her infected again. We're
Mm.
gonna get Jason and Salim killed. Then we're gonna get the trophy. Then that way we'll get the trophy, the Ura trophy for Nick and Eric, and we'll get the trophy for Eric killing Rachel while she's infected. I'm like, we can knock this out in a few steps. So we were doing really cool with
Mm-hmm.
that. Like we had it planned.
Nice.
We had a roadmap laid out, basically minimizing cleanup, and so it was the last trophy we both needed, and we both popped it at the same time, and we both got our platinum trophy in that game at the exact same time, and that is the first platinum trophy that we have both unlocked simultaneously at the exact same time as a couple that we worked on together for the most
That's
part.
awesome. I saw that post on
So,
Facebook too. That's pretty fucking cool.
because A Way Out, I had already had some trophies in it from when I played it with Dylan, so my platinum popped before
Right.
hers. But when we go to play It Takes Two, um, we're gonna be when we go to play It Takes Two, I'm gonna be doing the PS5 version because I did the PS4 version
Uh-huh.
before. When I played it with another friend of mine, so I'm gonna do the PS5 version this time. Start with a clean slate, and for that one, we'll get everything unlocked at the same time. And due to the nature of that game being more relationship focused between the two main characters you play
Uh-huh.
as, that's a special one that we're trying to save. So we're gonna make it so that there's one trophy we don't get, like an easy one we can just go back and get
Mhm.
later. So that way that one can be like a special number for us. Like she wants it to be number 10 on her new
Uh-huh.
account that she made. And for me, I think it would be like 175 is where I'm going to put it.
Okay.
So, yeah, cuz that's another one we're going to unlock together as a couple, and it's going to be a game that is about relationships. I don't know if you've ever played It Takes Two, but
No, I don't think I have.
it's a game that's about these two parents and their daughter. The parents have been kind of getting into it, and they're considering a divorce, and the daughter is having a hard time dealing with it, so she makes a wish, and I guess her tears are magic or something, because the parents end up their spirits get transferred into these two dolls, and they basically have to they spend the game working together and setting aside their differences to get back to their human bodies. It's very Pixar, you know. Um,
Interesting.
it's like a playable Pixar game, and so in It Takes Two, it's exclusively co-op. You and whoever you play it with play as the husband and wife, as these two dolls that are going through these different environments while you're shrunk. So you're going through like the child's bedroom, the garden outside. There's a part where you're flying on the backs of bees, shooting at other bugs. There's a part where it's kind of like Diablo for a minute. There's a part where it's like Crash Bandicoot for a minute. It toys
Huh.
with different genres. Yeah, it's really cool. There's a part where you literally have to torture a toy elephant for information.
I'll have to look
it's
into this.
Yeah, you and Sarah should play It Takes Two together. It's so good. It's the perfect couples game, trust me. Like any couple that have played this game together have grown closer playing it as a result. Like every last one of them. So
I think I'm definitely gonna look into this. Yeah, this'll
it
this'll be.
might even be free on PS Plus Extra right now. I'm not 100% sure, but it's exclusively co-op, so no matter which platform you play it on.
I'm gonna go
It's an
look.
it's an EA game, so it's an EA game, so it might be um it might be on Game Pass, part of EA Play. So if she has two controllers for that Xbox, you could play it together.
It is $40 on PlayStation.
Okay. It might be free on Game Pass. Don't quote me on that, but um now both of you have access to a PlayStation and an Xbox, so
Yes,
there's
we
a lot of
do.
options for things to play together.
Yes, we are right now. The Xbox, for the time being, is out of commission because we are trying to figure out positioning for the projector in the bedroom because my TV's out in the living room.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's not on Game Pass either, but it goes on sale a lot. So,
Fair
like,
enough.
if you ever see it on sale, or like if you're ever at like GameStop or something and you see a physical copy of it, I would grab it. Even if it's a PS4 copy, because it has a free PS5 upgrade, like the free digital upgrade.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, that's what we did. We got our platinum trophy in House of Ashes together, which was really special. And then outside of that, I've just been working. That's it. Nothing super exciting. I will say though that I've been watching. I've been going back and rewatching Family Guy.
Okay.
On the DVDs.
Yes.
And because I own all the DVDs that they put out so far, and I've been doing rewatches of it every so often, and like every few years I'll just go back and rewatch the whole show, and I decided to spice things up a little bit this time by turning on the commentary, like the DVD commentary.
Oh, nice.
While I watch them this time. It's the first time I've ever listened to the commentary, and my god, is it crazily eye-opening and hilarious. And Seth MacFarlane is on every single one of them. He's pretty much like the host of the commentary. For each one. Yeah. But who joins him for each one changes every time. Sometimes it's one of the writers of the episode. Sometimes it's one of their executive producers. Sometimes it's a cast member. So I've heard like Alex Sulkin on there. I've heard David Goodman on there. They're writers, but a lot of those writers also do voices. Like the jokes they pitch, the cutaway gags and stuff, they usually get to voice the characters in them.
So which volume was it? Which volume was it that I gave you?
Wesley Wild. Did you give me one?
I did.
I don't know. Because I remember buying all these Family Guy DVDs off Amazon, but maybe you gave me Volume 7?
It was the one that had I Dream of Jesus in it.
Yeah, that's Volume 7.
Okay, yeah, Volume 7, yeah.
Yeah, that's Volume 7. That was I Dream of Jesus was Episode 2 of Season 7.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and Volume 7 was, I believe, the second half of Season 7 and the first half of Season 8, maybe.
Okay.
Or no, it was the second half of Season 6 and the first half of Season 7. It was like the last 2 episodes of Season 6 and then the beginning of Season 7 is what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, because Season 7 was the one that had New Brian, the episode where Lois worked for Fox, stuff like that.
So yeah, I love Family Guy, but if I had hung on to that, it would have just sat on the shelf collecting dust, and I know you would have gotten more use out of it.
Yeah. Well, you're getting some back use out of it because I've got that folder where you can get all of those all the like behind the scenes stuff and all that that are only on the DVDs.
That's fair, yeah. So, yeah.
But we'll be taking advantage of that folder for a later episode of this show.
Yes, we will.
Down the line. Because Family Guy actually is very responsible for my pop culture knowledge over the years, and I probably wouldn't have ever started this podcast if it wasn't for my love for that show.
Fair enough.
So, yes, they taught me a lot about pop culture. Out of necessity, so I could get the jokes.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So yeah. So eventually, we're gonna be doing an episode about that. We'll talk about the Road 2 episodes, the Star Wars parodies, some of their more special episodes, like the one where time goes backwards. And the one where they go back in time to the pilot episode, stuff like that. The murder mystery episode they did.
I loved that murder mystery episode. It reminded me the murder mystery episode reminded me a lot of that board game Clue.
Yeah, it was loosely based on it, and also Agatha Christie murder mystery novels.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then the Simpsons Family Guy crossover.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep. Yeah, so yeah, we'll cover all that stuff, but yeah, that's what I've been doing. I recently watched yeah, because I've heard not only the writers on there, but I've also heard like Seth Green, Mike Henry, Mila Kunis, Alex Borenstein. They've done commentary on a few episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty hilarious for Stewie Griffin: The Untold Story. The
Oh,
commentary for that,
I can only
they have different
imagine.
people. They have different people for all three episodes, and it's funny as hell because they had to do it twice. And when you turn the commentary on and start it, you hear Seth MacFarlane come on, and he's immediately like, all right, let's try this again. Hi, I'm Seth MacFarlane. This is, and he's like, we tried to do this once before, but there was like 100 people here, and we were all drunk, and it just did not work very well. So we're
That's
gonna do it again.
hilarious.
And he's like, we're gonna musical chairs this. He's like, so for and he, because that movie is just three episodes smashed together back to
Mm-hmm.
back. So they so for the first episode, he's on with two of the writers. For the second episode, they switch those writers out. They bring in another writer and Seth Green.
Okay.
Uh and no, Alex Borenstein and Seth Green come in for the second part. And then for the third part, they bring in Mila Kunis as well.
Okay.
In that, so they just slowly bring more people in. And Seth Green and Alex Bornstein have the most hilarious commentary. Those Alex Bornstein does this thing where she likes to point out the jokes in a deadpan manner, like Brian will do something, however, once in a while they remind us Brian's a dog and Stewie's a baby by making them do dog and baby
Mm-hmm.
things. Like Brian's a walking, talking, thinking dog, but he's still scared of vacuums,
Yep.
Uh, and so for the commentary for stuff like that, Alex Borenstein will be like, haha, you get it? It's funny because he's a dog, you know? And I love that deadpan humor. She also said, there was a scene where Lois was chasing Brian with a vacuum to get information out of him, and Alex was like, "Oh, I love these scenes because I get to take out my real life frustration on Seth MacFarlane in animated fashion."
That's amazing.
So yeah, dude, listening to the commentary for these is like opened a whole new world. I just slap my headphones on, listen to it, and I'm just cackling at the commentary because I've seen these episodes so many times that I can still tell what's going on in the episode as I listen to them talk
Mm-hmm.
about it. So I'm gonna start listening to the commentary on more things I've seen 1,000 times because this is actually like cool, like really cool.
I've listened
It's
to there was a time I listened to the commentary for, was it this the is it the 2002 Scooby Doo movie with Matthew Lillard as Shaggy?
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's always
dude,
nice when they have
it's
some of the cast members in there.
dude, it was so cool. And they
Yeah,
were all talking
that's
about it, dude. It was awesome.
it's like listening to a podcast where they're talking about the movie you're watching.
Right.
You know,
Like I'm like
it's
seriously want to go back and watch Deadpool with the commentary. See, because I'm sure whatever Ryan Reynolds has to say about the shit is so fucking funny.
I
Same.
bet you he does I bet you he does the commentary as Deadpool.
Oh, I bet. I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it.
Yeah, that's a fun way to do it.
Yeah.
I've heard some cool things about. I heard South Park has really good commentary on their DVDs too.
Okay, dude. So I recently noticed something. My daughter, ever since we went to go see Despicable Me 4 in theaters, she's been
Mm-hmm.
but she hasn't watched them since we've moved. But she before we moved, she was watching all three of the uh all the first three Despicable Me films, and in the third one, the villain is a character named, oh shit, I'm blanking on the name. The last name is Brat, Bratt, and who is he voiced by? One half of South Park, Trey Parker. I'm like,
Oh, that's great.
I'm like, uh, this voice sounds fucking familiar. I've been a bad boy. That's fucking Randy Marsh.
Yeah, yep.
I'm
Definitely.
like, why is Randy Marsh voicing a children's character? He,
So that's his
I,
that's his half brother with the hair, right? Or whatever.
no. That's Oh, I'm gonna look up the name now, cause his brother's name was Drew.
Oh, okay. Huh. They don't have Drew listed in the casting. That's
No, they
weird.
do because it's voiced by the same person as Gru.
Oh,
It's
it's
Steve
Steve Carell.
Carell.
Okay, they're both okay. They're both him. That makes
Balthazar
sense.
Bratt. I'm like, why does this voice sound familiar? I'm like, oh,
Oh
that's.
yeah, just looking at the guy, I can. Yeah, that makes sense.
He looks like
But
Randy Marsh.
he kind of does. He kind of does. But all right. Well, that has been my week. And on the note of movies, we've got some reviews and stuff to get to
Yeah,
real
we
quick.
do.
So, what say you? What say you? We do
Yeah,
that.
let's mosey on over to that media corner.
I am just a little dancing piece of macaroni. I am not spaghetti or penny or rigatoni. I am not lasagna or a fat slab of bologna. I'm macaroni.
Alrighty, everyone. Here we are at the Media Corner, the place for news, reviews, recommendations, and sometimes we also do what?
Previews.
Sometimes we do. Sometimes we do. Not this time, though. Um, this time we've got some reviews and news from that you can choose if you so use, as they say at PlayStation. uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna let you go first because I need to end this one for segue reasons.
Oh, got it. Okay, fair enough. All right. I recently watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire as it has recently hit Netflix. And I recently started up my own Netflix, so there's that.
Okay.
Netflix is going to be a necessity come January because that's where Monday Night Raw will be moving to going forward. But no, back to the subject at hand. Um, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. It's a direct continuation of Ghostbusters Afterlife. I really like it's got that kid from Stranger Things in it. Um
Finn Wolfhard.
yes, and in this
He's
one
he's also in It, the remake of It, the first one.
he sure is. I did watch that recently.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was fucking amazing. Um I and then this one he's 18 and his sister is basically at the very beginning of the film they're basically the setup for the story, but they're
It's
the
a sequel to Afterlife, right?
sequel to Afterlife. Yes, they basically so the Egon Spengler's grandkids, um,
Mm-hmm.
they they're doing a ghost hunt through they're doing a high speed ghost chase through the city at the beginning of the movie, and because of how much destruction they cause, they end up in the mayor's office. And it come to find out one of the Ghostbusters, who just so happened to be hanging out the side of the vehicle of the Ecto 1, happened to be a minor by the age of 15. So and she was just like Egon. her ghost busting skills just like Egon, and it destroyed her. Basically, this is the setup for the story, and they basically had to say, "Hey, no, we can't be putting you in the line of danger anymore. We gotta wait till you're 18," some shit like that. But this was a good one. I'd have to say I'd give it 8 point no 9.5 because it's Ghostbusters. It's fucking Ghostbusters. That's my reasoning for the 9.5. It's Ghostbusters.
Okay.
And
I'm glad you liked it.
They didn't have any like ghostly appearances from Egon Spengler, but they had all three of the OG Ghostbusters: Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson. So yeah, the one that passed away was Harold Ramis. He played Dr. Egon Spengler.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, they had the three still living OG Ghostbusters: Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson.
Right. Legacy sequel.
Dr. Peter Venkman, Dr. Raymond Stantz, Dr. Egon Spengler, and Winston Zedmore. Dude.
Okay. Yeah, believe it, I haven't seen this or Afterlife yet. I'm gonna get on that eventually, but...
No, dude, you don't know what you're missing. Paul Rudd is in both of them.
Yep, I knew that.
Hop on that shit. I mean, Frozen Empire is on Netflix. And I'm not sure what Afterlife might be on. Afterlife might be on something.
I'll find it. I always do. I know where to find things.
It's on FX now, so yeah.
That's okay. I have my ways.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
So, yes. And I always find the highest quality, too. So.
Yes, you do.
Speaking of which, before I get to my first thing real quick, I forgot to mention, Sky and I've watched a few movies together, too. I showed her Inside Out for the first time, and she loved it. The first one.
Nice.
So now she'll be ready for the second one. We'll be watching Deadpool 3 again I will be watching it, because I've seen it in theaters now, and I'll be watching it again with her, when it comes out on streaming.
There's already a spot for it on Disney Plus, and I've already added it to my list.
Yeah. And,
I did the same with Inside Out, too.
Yup. Yeah. And, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on that. I can't wait,
dude. I'm going to see. Sarah and I are going to see Deadpool and Wolverine next Friday, so we'll need to do a spoiler cast that Saturday.
We definitely will. And,
yes.
We, just for funsies, went back and watched old Disney movie, The Aristocats.
Oh, nice. That's always a classic.
Yeah, we were just feeling it, and
nice.
And since it's something we'd both seen a bunch, we were able to watch it together and have a conversation. We were using PSN Party Chat and watching it through Disney Plus. So,
nice.
And most recently, last night we watched If. She wanted to see that. It's on Paramount Plus now, and she really enjoyed it too.
Nice.
So, But in a completely separate turn from something like that, I do have something animated I'm going to review. There is a show on Amazon Prime Video that is a direct sequel to a movie that Seth Rogen did a little while back called Sausage Party. And
I heard about this.
The show is called Sausage Party Foodtopia. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the original movie Sausage Party, but
I loved it.
So, yeah, and that movie... Well,
are you kidding me? That humor's right up my alley.
Yeah. Well, this show definitely toned it down on some of the, like, overt, like, stereotypes and stuff, but it's still a very, very horny show.
Fair enough.
And so this show picks up basically right after the end of the movie, and in order to talk about the show, I'm sorry for anyone out there who hasn't seen this 2009 Pixar parody, but you gotta spoil the end of the movie to talk about the show. So, after the food discovers that they can use bath salts to make people see that they're alive, and then they basically fight them.
I forgot about that.
The food and they take over the shopping center. The food takes their fight public, and they basically exterminate the humans.
What?
And yeah, so they start a new paradise for the food called Foodtopia. But here's the thing: these food people have never been outside the grocery store before, except for a few of them, and they don't know about the dangers of the outside world, like rain and birds. And so, you know how the movie basically did this thing where food was being murdered and mutilated in horrifying ways, but it was fine because it was food. So you'd see like a potato get skinned alive like you would do when you're going to cook one, but this is an anthropomorphic potato that's screaming in pain. And it's like, oh, if that was a human, this would be really bloody and violent.
It sure would.
And it's like that for the whole thing. You see a can of noodles with its noodles hanging out like intestines at one point.
Oh, jeez.
So this show does the same shit. It's very, very violent in terms of food death. Okay. And it's also very, very horny. The first thing the food does to celebrate is they all have sex with each other, and then they get rained on, and they start discovering the horrors of the outside world. All of the pastry and bread type foods don't survive very well in the water.
I bet not.
So Seth Rogen, Kristen Wiig, and Michael Cera are back as their main characters. I can't tell if it's Edward Norton doing the bagel or not, but I will tell you that the Lavash, the one that his frenemy in the movie, he's dead by the beginning of the show. Like, he died. So,
oof.
Yeah, so he's not in it. But basically, the whole point of this show is, I didn't like how it started, because it was basically like, I feel like it was relying too heavily on the same humor from the movie, and I've kind of outgrown that a little bit.
Fair enough, yeah.
For myself personally. However, what this show does eventually divulge into is some very interesting social commentary on capitalism. Because the food are all they basically create a society, but much like any society being built from the ground up, they eventually figure out the concepts of currency and laws, and then you end up having they end up using human teeth as currency, and it becomes this whole manipulation thing where, now there's high society food and low society food, so food that don't have a lot of teeth to spend on things like shelter and stuff are in the streets, there's milk that can't afford refrigeration, so it's slowly spoiling, so it's on the streets dying, and it's like a metaphor for homelessness, and stuff like that, or like an egg having to put itself in danger by working a factory job where it could crack at any moment. Stuff like that. Some very poignant social commentary there. But the other part of this is that there are still a few humans left alive, and they managed to kidnap one, an ultimate frisbee bro voiced by Will Forte, who they they kidnap and basically torture for information. They realize that he knows about things like rain and birds, and they kind of need his knowledge in order to survive this new world.
Yeah.
And he basically teaches them about the other stuff that they're doing too, and it gets weirdly political.
Okay.
And it's got some very interesting commentary, like I said. But that's really about all the more I can say for it. Well, I say it does have some very poignant commentary. That's about the only thing I really liked about it overall. Because the rest of it, to me, it just kind of feels like a going nowhere story. Because the thing is, that's the kind of movie that, with the way it ends, it doesn't really need a continuation. It's better to just kind of leave that, because when you continue a story like that, you have to do something like the food killed all the humans and now they're trying to survive in a humanless world. And
Right.
where do you really go with that after a while? I mean, you get to the point like the one human they have alive, they don't want him eating food because, they're the food.
Yeah.
And so they make him eat other people.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so and it's played completely casually for laughs, like it's just so like they're so nonchalant about it. Yeah, they treat things like sex and cannibalism and death like with a huge haha filter in this show.
Oh
So,
my.
It's really dark and fucked up, and there was one episode where, let's just say, one of the pieces of food has sex with the human, and there's a warning at the beginning where they said, there's a scene in this episode so graphic that they wouldn't let us air it without putting this warning. So here you go. Here's the warning. So, yeah.
That's fair. Damn, I need
The
to
best
watch.
way to explain the
watch
show
this.
is... The best way to explain it is that this is some really smart commentary in a really stupid show. And so it's like part of me hates it and the other part of me really loves it, because I love what they do right. They got commentary on like police brutality, capitalism, wage inequality, or like classism, stuff like that, political manipulation tactics, and they do good with all of that. But the way that the media twists things, like how politicians are in the pockets of newscasters and like entertainment faces, stuff like that. So, that's all good, but then it's surrounded by this just really stupid juvenile shit that I didn't like. On top of it, though,
Fair enough.
But I do think you will enjoy it. But my overall rating, I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Oof.
That's still on the good scale. It's almost a 7.
That's fair. Yeah.
I didn't want to go as
fair.
low as 6 because it has such poignant commentary. I think like early South Park, where it was like really stupid and gross, but also really smart. What they were saying.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Okay.
So, yeah. But yeah, that's Sausage Party Foodtopia on Amazon Prime Video. A movie that definitely did not need a sequel, but it got one. And it comes in the form of a 4-hour, 8-episode show.
All right.
It's 8 episodes total, and each one's like 23 minutes long.
Okay.
Yeah, not a long show.
All right. So my second thing is I watched another movie that was recently added to Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Tarot. We did a preview of this one a few episodes back.
Yeah, Sky told me she watched this and was not happy with it.
I liked it.
Okay. I haven't seen it, so I can't judge one way or the other.
I liked it. So, number one thing you never want to do. and they make this. This is just common sense. You don't ever use someone else's tarot deck.
Yeah.
Because some bad shit's gonna happen, and that's what happens here. This deck was cursed. This is a cursed deck, and this girl, they had, I think it was an Airbnb or whatever they rented, and there was this room that had a "Do not enter" sign on it. It's just your typical horror movie formula. What do? They go in. They find all this like demonic shit, and there's this box on a shelf with a zodiac wheel on it. And these cards are, the detail on these cards, fucking insane. Like, but she does everyone's horoscope. She does everyone's reading with these cards, and then she proceeds to do her own. And the way she does it is she makes a circle, and then the final one in the middle, like in the preview, the card, basically whatever's on that card is how they die. And I will say, there was a lot of times this movie was trying a little too hard.
Mm-hmm.
It got a lot of cheap jump scares. But I liked it.
Oh. You know what, though? As much as you seem to genuinely enjoy jump scares, for you, of all people, to call them cheap is definitely saying something. So...
Like this movie,
I'm gonna go ahead and take that as like your one criticism.
Yeah, no, that's my one criticism. Like I enjoy jump scares, but these ones were cheap.
Fair. As I said before when we talked
like,
about Night Swim, I enjoy good jump scares.
So
that's the
like
key.
it like when a horror movie at times will just like throw in some creepy like music just because. Not like anything's happening, just because. That shit got me.
Yeah.
Because I thought something was gonna happen.
That made subverting your expectations.
That made me mad.
No, see that is actually what I like, because I like when they build up to a jump scare but then don't actually do one, because that's building attention in a good way, and there's no payoff. So, it's kind of like you're expecting a sneeze, but the sneeze never comes, and you're not satisfied with that. But it's that anticipation.
Yeah.
That I like. I like I like when they get subversive. Sometimes.
I'm mad that I didn't get more scared. If that makes any sense. I'm mad that I didn't get a double entendre, jump scare. I'm mad that there wasn't something more that came after that. Yeah.
My other favorite is when they have a random, unexpected jump scare with no build.
Yeah.
That I've had that happen in a couple of video games. Like, normally a jump scare in a video game will build up with music and stuff, but there's been a couple times where I'm just walking down a hall and it's dead silent. There's no build up. I just started walking. I took 2 steps and suddenly ooga booga.
There's a couple
out
of
of
those.
nowhere.
There's a couple of those in this.
Okay. So, all right. Any other thoughts on this?
I'm gonna rate it, and we're gonna be done with it, because I liked it, but it wasn't great.
Okay.
I'd have to say.
So is that like a 7?
It's a 7. I'd have to say it's a 7. Yeah.
Okay. So that's so it was okay, basically.
It was trying too hard to be Final Destination.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, Sky is pretty big into all that tarot and all that and pagan stuff, so I'm pretty sure her issues with the movie were more due to inaccuracy.
Fair enough.
Which I can appreciate.
Fair enough.
Or just the whole there's a certain representations of fucking with the dead that don't sit well with people who have experience in that. So
that's fair. Yeah, no, that's valid.
Exactly. Yep. But okay. So my second thing also falls into the horror realm, interestingly enough, and it is a little video game currently free on Xbox Game Pass called Still Wakes the Deep. I played it, I recorded it, and there will be a Let's Play coming out very soon once I've finished Oxenfree 2.
Okay.
Once the episodes Oxenfree 2 are out, I'll start putting out episodes of Still Wakes the Deep. For anyone who's interested and wants to check it out, I will tell you now what it's about. This game is basically John Carpenter's The Thing if it took place on an oil rig in the middle of an ocean.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically it's part body horror, part Lovecraftian cosmic horror, but you're on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean outside Scotland. You play as this guy named Kaz, and the drill goes down into something. They drill through this rock down below, and things start getting weird. The place starts shaking and stuff, and whatever they opened up down there, it causes these weird pink tendril-like things to start slowly crawling up the oil rig and taking everything over. And anyone who is within the vicinity of one of these things for too long or gets attacked or killed by it becomes a horrifyingly mutated blob creature. There are, like I said, it's like The Thing. Like, there are several. This is a first-person platforming and stealth-based horror game where there are some moments where you're outside on the rig, and they really play with heights here. As it's falling apart, you gotta like shimmy across stuff and jump across stuff and not fall into the ocean below. And then there are parts where you're inside and you're like sneaking through corridors and stuff, and one of your former co-workers might be a blob monster now, and by that I mean they look like a giant tumor with tendrils coming out of it.
Jesus.
And their bodies have been mutilated, twisted, and contorted into horrifying shapes. They are, some of them it's just nothing but like a huge, like, blob with a face at this point, and all these tendrils coming out, and these tendrils come out of them, and they use them to stick to surfaces and drag their oozy blob body across the ground as they're looking for you. And it's fucking crazy. It's one of the easier horror games I've ever played. Like, I never once died to an enemy. All my deaths in that came from fucking up jumps and falling in the ocean.
Okay.
So, but it was really fun. It definitely has this, it definitely has some tedious mechanics, some QTEs that don't really need to be there. Like,
right.
There are certain parts where you're like interacting with doors and stuff where you have, or turning valves where you have to hold a button to make it go, and it's like this could have just been a mini cutscene,
right?
And other stuff like that. It feels like there's some mechanics that they kind of like. They left in there because they were going to be for other gameplay ideas that got cut last minute. But it reminds me of Soma a lot, and I know I draw that comparison often, but this one really, really does, in the sense that it has, like, you can lean past corners to see where monsters are. It takes place in a mostly oceanic setting. You're inside in a lot of industrial places with valves and shit. There's a lot of items laying around that you can throw to distract enemies so you can sneak past them.
Okay.
Stuff like that. There's some very minor puzzle elements, and by puzzles I mean like walk into a room and push a lever. So yeah. Not really like puzzles like you would find in like a Saw or something. More like just like very simple get from point A to point B. And it's one of those games where every it's one of those games that uses the yellow paint means go this way cliche, where everywhere that you need to go is either like a yellow doorway or a yellow valve, or there's yellow paint on the stuff you need to climb up. And that's something that's more common in video games now. Climbable ledges and shit you may notice in a lot of things are always painted either yellow or white these days.
Okay.
It's part of the story in God of War, actually, because you find out that his wife painted all that so they knew where to go.
They sure did.
Yeah, but you see it in games like Final Fantasy VII, Horizon, stuff like that. It's very common now. Yellow paint or white paint means go this way. Other ways that they direct you in certain directions in games, especially horror games, will be stuff like flashing lights in the distance, or like the only source of light, or like the only door in the room, stuff like that. So there's a bit of that here too, but I would say overall I really enjoyed this game for the most part. It had a good atmosphere. It had a pretty interesting story. The Scottish dialect is authentic and hilarious. Because Scottish people insults are just fucking funny.
Yeah,
like, they're funny. But it's so authentic. It's like instead of electricity, they'll say like eleki, and stuff like that. So the subtitles are in English American for us dum-dums. But it's super authentic, like to the point where you almost can't understand what they're saying without subtitles sometimes.
Right.
Like, oi, you can't just sit there and be a wee mopey bitch about it. They get very, very into it.
Yeah.
So I think it's like all authentic Scottish cast too, so that's part of it. And this game, developed by the Chinese Room, which are the same developers behind Amnesia, Machine for Pigs, and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture was a walking simulator game where you were the only person left on Earth after a rapture, and you were like kind of reliving the people's last memories going through. And Amnesia, Machine for Pigs is another stealth-based horror game that takes place in the Amnesia series. The only one that Frictional Games didn't do. And as a result, it has a much more linear gameplay style, because the Chinese Room's games basically are walking simulators at their core, but then they put monsters in them and make them horror games.
Okay.
So, because, this is a game where you can die, so not traditionally a walking simulator, but there is a trophy/achievement in it called Walking Simulator that you unlock for sprinting a total of less than 10 minutes throughout the whole game, which I got naturally. And it's funny because there are some chase scenes in this. Like, there's scenes where you have to run from enemies, like you have to run.
Right.
And so that's interesting to how to get that one. Yeah, I got chased down a hallway by basically what was a giant face with tentacles coming out of it at one
Jesus.
point. It was great.
I'm gonna have to check this Let's Play out. But I admittedly, that last Let's Play that you had me watching, what was it?
Was it Bendy or Hellblade 2?
Hellblade 2. I don't think I'm gonna have to go back and restart it, because I don't remember where I left off.
Oh, that's fine. That game is deep in Norse mythology, so
that's why I wanna go back and watch it. And I don't think I got to the episode where you mentioned one of my supposed catchphrases here on the podcast.
Oh. Yeah, I think since I knew you were watching that one, so I made a direct wink and nod to you in one episode.
Okay.
But yeah. All right. So yeah, if you have any love for John Carpenter's The Thing, or like Lovecraftian cosmic horror, then this is definitely a good one to either watch or play. And yeah, it's free on Game Pass, but it's also on PlayStation for like $30, I think.
Okay.
It is. So it's a solid one if anyone out there wants to try it.
What was it called
but
again?
It's also Still Wakes the Deep.
Still Wakes
and
the
it's
Deep?
new. It was a day one game on Game Pass.
Ooh, okay.
Too. So
once we get
yeah,
the Xbox hooked up, I'll have to look into that. You said it's on Game Pass?
yeah, and
Nice.
this is not a perfect game by any means. There's a lot of problems, and I definitely ran into some like technical glitches and stuff too. But
Mm-hmm.
and I heard some complaints that the game's ending is really abrupt and it just kind of ends. I don't think I agree with that. I think the ending is definitely played out, and I really liked
Fair.
it. It ends in basically the only way it possibly could have, but it is a pretty beautiful kind of if melancholy ending. So,
You
um,
said that wow, I just lost my train of thought. Keep going. I'm sorry.
no worries. But yeah,
It'll come
yeah, I
back
will.
to me.
But yeah, I will be putting a let's play of this one out as soon as I've done all the episodes of Oxenfree 2, which I recorded earlier in the year. So
Okay.
I'm ahead of I've been recording things like way early and then sitting on them for a while and putting them out later these days to give myself more time.
Makes
Um,
sense.
but I would give this game overall uh probably a solid 8 out of 10. I would give it.
Okay.
And even with that rating, I would say as of right now, and the year's far from over, but as of right now, it's definitely a top 10 contender this year.
Okay.
So
Bet.
it would be like low on the list if it made it, but it's definitely a contender.
Bet.
So as of right now though, like just a little
I'll be
sneak peek
participating again this year.
as it stands right now, this will probably change by the end of the year, but right now, so far, my top game of this year is Persona 3 Reload, I think.
Your
It's
top game?
definitely yeah, it's definitely the most fun I've had with anything this year so far is Persona 3 Reload, and I've finally almost finished it. Just
So
in
you
time
would
for
say
the
that
DLC
that's
to
your
come out this month.
That's your personal game of the year so far.
So far, yeah.
Okay.
So, but we have a lot of shit coming out in the holiday months.
That we
so.
do. We've still got
Um,
Harry Potter Quidditch Champions coming out, which I will be
I'm
getting myself a copy of that.
I'm very much looking forward to the new Mario Party.
Actually, it's going to be an anniversary gift.
So, what is your third thing, real
My
quick? Because
third
my
thing-
my
Okay.
my final thing is gonna be another review, but it's gonna be a short one.
Okay, so I sent you over an article, and this blows my mind. Okay, so you and I are huge Pete Davidson fans. That's the Pete Davidson fans. Wow, words are hard. And he recently had a comedy show in Rockford. Now, he abruptly canceled the rest of his tour and has since checked himself into rehab. Now, anybody who knows Pete Davidson knows that he was a massive, massive pothead. Because he was best friends with Machine Gun Kelly, and Machine Gun Kelly is a massive pothead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not to mention it was a huge part of his persona on SNL.
That too. So, knowing Rockford and knowing that weed is legal in the state of Illinois, recreationally and medicinally, I would not put it past the population of Rockford, for anybody that went to the show, to go to a dispensary to get a cartridge specifically for this show. I wouldn't. Because the his reasoning is undisclosed. This is just a theory. But I'd be willing to put money down and say that there were people that had like they were smoking weed out in the crowd at the Coronado Theater.
Yeah.
And it triggered him, and he checked himself into rehab because he's been trying to focus on his sobriety during this tour, and Rockford is one of the biggest weed cities in Illinois.
And I have to imagine that he probably at least experimented with stuff a little stronger than that, and that's the need for rehab too, because you don't usually hear that with people who only use that and never touch anything else. It's usually with people who moved on to other things.
Yeah.
And so they have to let go of that too, because being around that can sometimes be a trigger that leads them to those other things.
Like I'm proud of him for it. I mean, I know he'll probably never listen to this, but I give him mad props. Like canceling the rest of a tour, basically canceling paychecks, and checking himself into rehab just to make sure that basically taking care of him. Mad fucking props.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sure the SNL alumni is our target demographic here. I'm positive they listen. Hi, Rachel Dratch. No. Yeah, from what I was... it's crazy because he basically stopped in the middle of a set, didn't even finish it, just walked off and said goodnight, and then checked into rehab, canceled the rest of his tour. Just on the drop of a dime, just decided...
Yeah.
I can't do this. I need to, maybe there might have been some mental health stuff involved too. He's been pretty open about that.
Yeah, true. That's very true.
When he was on SNL, he was very open about it. Kind of, and on there and for his stand up, it ended up being like a big part of his comedy set. Self-deprecation humor is like one of his things.
Has he released a special for this tour yet?
I don't think so, and I don't know if that'll even happen now.
No, I don't.
Usually those are recorded. They record like the best one they record all of them, then they use the best one for the what they put on Netflix. Or whatever. So.
I'm sure he'll want a Netflix special for this one.
He has like a 5-second live action cameo in an upcoming Family Guy episode in the next season.
Oh, nice.
They released a trailer for the next season at Comic-Con, and I sent that to you. And the trailer is basically 6 minutes of clips from the upcoming season.
I have not watched that yet. I have been running ragged this past week.
Oh, no worries. But yeah, that's
getting stuff done around the apartment, getting things all ready.
Right. But yeah, he's in it for like something, I don't know. They make a crack about how he keeps getting women, and it cuts to him in live action. And he's like, says something like, "I text back. It's that simple," or some shit like that.
Okay.
I can't remember what it is, but yeah. And there's also going to be they're going to be doing a Halloween special episode this year with Glenn Powell making a guest appearance on it.
Okay.
So, and a few other things that seemed fun. I gotta watch the trailer again. I've only seen it
Fair
once,
enough.
But, yeah. Oh, I also sent you a Bray Wyatt related wrestling thing from Dead Meat that I thought you might enjoy. It was the link I sent you earlier today that didn't have a preview
Oh,
image.
that's what that was? Oh, I need to watch
Yeah.
that. Okay, I need to watch that when we get done here. Oh, man. Because SummerSlam is on, like, right now.
It's a 14-minute video. It's called Horror in Wrestling, The Wyatt 6.
Oh, dude. The Wyatts... Let me go on a small tangent real quick. I love what the WWE is doing with the Wyatt 6. I need to watch SmackDown before I watched SummerSlam, because SmackDown, what they did was they last week on SmackDown they unmasked 3 members of the Wyatt Six. They unmasked Rambling Rabbit, who was Aaron. You had Huskus the pig, who was Joe Gacy, and we had Mercy the Buzzard, who was Dexter Loomis, and they had a tag match or a 6-man tag match against Chad Gable and the Creed brothers on SmackDown. But dude, my point with this, Bo Dallas, who is Bray Wyatt's blood brother, actual brother, is carrying on Bray Wyatt's legacy with this, and Bo Dallas is looking more and more like Bray every fucking week, and I am here for it. I'm just really hoping that whoever the 6th member is, maybe it's Alexa Bliss, maybe there's people saying that it's Chad Gable, but whoever it is, I sincerely hope that they bring the Fiend 2.0 to life. The Fiend costume that was made and finished but never used in the Bray Wyatt becoming immortal documentary. End of rant. I'm sorry. I could go on forever on the Wyatt Six and Bray Wyatt, dude. Like, this shit is fucking exciting.
Right. But, okay. Well, on the note of comedy and comedians like Pete Davidson, I've seen... I went to theaters and I saw Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm going to be giving a very brief, very undetailed, for the most part, review here, because this is... we're going to be doing a spoiler cast for this one.
Yes, we are.
We're going to be doing a bonus episode. So, once you've seen it, so I will, make this... this will probably be one of the most bare bones reviews I've ever done, but here's what I'll say about it. Just briefly from my notes. One of the best openings I've ever seen in a movie ever. That's all I can say about that. But, the opening credits of this movie is, one of the best things I've ever seen on a movie theater screen in my life.
Okay.
The trailers are extremely misleading. It is not... This movie is not what you think it is. It is not the huge turning point for the MCU that it promises to be. In some ways it is. There are some things. They introduce some concepts, like the concept of an anchor being, which is a person so important that if they die, your universe ceases to exist. So they do introduce that, and much like Tiamat from Eternals, I'm sure they'll do fucking nothing with it down the line. But, what I will say is that if it's at all possible, I would squeeze in at least season 1 of Loki before seeing this movie, because a lot of what does tie in with the MCU plays off your knowledge of that show and your understanding of the TVA and the Void and this big smoke monster called Azeroth.
Okay.
And a good % of this movie takes place in the Void from Loki, so it's very important to have seen at least season 1 of that show, I think.
I've been meaning to watch season 1 at least.
Yeah. I wouldn't say you'd have to watch seasons 1 and 2, but at least season 1, so you at least have an idea of what the TVA is, but...
at least season 1, yeah.
But to put it as simply as possible, the TVA is the Time Variance Authority, and they exist outside of the realm of space and time, and their job is to keep watch over the multiverse and stop weird anomalies from happening.
Yeah.
And that's what the show Loki is about, because Loki, it takes place after there was a part in Avengers Endgame where they went back in time and they messed things up and Loki gets away with the Tesseract. Well, that's where the show Loki picks up, where that version of Loki gets away with the Tesseract, and since that wasn't supposed to happen, the TVA starts hunting him down to fix that timeline.
Okay.
Because now because he got away with the Tesseract, they caused a branching timeline where different things happened, and that's not supposed to be. And the TVA, they're pretty ruthless. They will come in and they will prune entire timelines from existence if they're not supposed to exist, meaning everyone in that particular universe is now dead.
Jesus. Okay.
Or technically never existed to begin with. Yeah, so the plot of this movie is basically Deadpool is trying to save his timeline from the TVA, and he needs Wolverine's help, and that's how that gets brought in. So,
okay.
And there is a lot of references to Disney and Marvel and Fox and all that. Like, this is a very, like, as you can expect, a very fourth wall breaking movie.
Yes.
Like, majorly.
Would you say that Ryan Reynolds, would you feel that Ryan Reynolds had free creative control over this film?
Actually, no. If anything, I would say that this one is maybe a little more subdued compared to its predecessors, and not in a bad way. There's still like 118 fucks in this entire movie, but
okay.
But they break the fourth wall about that too. They talk about things that Disney said was off limits, like cocaine, for example. But they still let them get violent. They still let them get all. But I would even argue, I mean, it's still pretty violent and messed up. But I would argue that even that was subdued to a mild degree. Not extremely, but, like, very mildly. It seems like there's a lot less, like, like in the second movie, we straight up saw Deadpool get ripped in half and then regrow his legs. There's nothing quite that bad here, but there is some very fucked up visceral stuff for sure. There is some things that will surprise you, that's for sure.
Okay.
But you might be wondering to yourself, this is an MCU movie. Will there be other characters? Will there be cameos? Yada, yada. Oh, yes, there are cameos, but it is not what you think. It is not at all what you think it's going to be. Trust me on this. And that kind of works to the movie's favor, too. In fact, one of the funniest moments in the movie is the reveal of one of the cameos.
Okay.
Yeah. And the villain in this one is Cassandra Nova, who is in X-Men lore. In one of the storylines, she was Charles Xavier's twin sister who killed him in the womb.
Oh.
And took over. And she has psychic powers and telekinetic stuff. She's really weird. She can, like, literally stick her fingers inside your head and read your brain.
Jeez.
It's so creepy. She's creepy. But it works. It works very well for this. So, maybe a little underbaked, though. The villain might be a little underbaked. The best way, what I can tell you is that this movie doesn't really move the MCU along in the way that they said it would, but what it does do is it kind of wraps up the Fox side of things.
Yeah.
So they can start new, is what it does.
Okay.
This movie is less of a Deadpool joins the MCU movie and more of a Deadpool pays his farewells to the Fox universe movie.
Got it, okay.
And that'll make a lot more sense when you've seen it, and let's just say that this movie gives proper endings to a lot of other franchises that didn't get them.
Okay, fair enough.
So, in that way. But yeah, that's all the more I'm really going to say about it. I will say I do feel like a lot of the characters from the first two movies that we were used to, like Colossus and Negasonic and all that, they're here, but really only in the beginning and end. They get sidelined pretty heavily in favor of Wolverine for this movie.
Enough.
Like when this movie says it's Deadpool and Wolverine, it really is Deadpool and Wolverine. That
makes sense.
One thing I will tell you, because I know you'll appreciate it, there's a scene where they're fighting each other inside a car, but the way that it's filmed, like the camera angles and stuff, it's meant to look like an intimate, like in a car sex scene, except they're like stabbing each other and there's blood everywhere.
Oh, that's so fucking funny.
Yeah, so I think you'll enjoy that. It's a great movie. You're gonna love it. I feel like
I can't wait.
They didn't fully deliver on the hype. It fell just short of the hype for me.
Right.
Just a smidgen. Not by a whole lot though. I got the same feeling with Spider-Man No Way Home. Like as much as I love that movie, as much as it was hyped up leading into it, I was expecting this like extravagant, life-changing experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not exactly what I got. So I would say temper your expectations correctly. I would give this movie a 8.5 out of 10.
All right.
So that's where I stand now. I don't know if it'll change by the time we do the spoiler cast or not. I wasn't sure. I was talking to Ryan about it, and he has a lot of the same complaints as me and a few other ones. Like I'm sure you remember Peter, the only guy who survived X-Force in the second movie.
Yeah.
The only normal guy. Yeah, they use him too much in this movie. He's
Fair enough.
He's very heavy-handed.
Okay.
But everything that they do right, they do fantastically right, and you're gonna love it.
I can't wait.
There's no one but Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman that can play these two characters for sure.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
And at this point, Ryan Reynolds doesn't just play Deadpool. That man is Deadpool.
He is fucking Deadpool. Yeah, no, he is
exactly. But all right, that's all I had, and that makes a perfect segue into this episode's topic.
New mask. Same task. What can I tell you? I like playing complicated characters.
All right, everybody, here we are at this episode's topic, which is actually just going to be a quick little discussion about the MCU. Because a lot of news came out of Comic-Con about the future of Marvel. Disney owns Fox and all them now, so it's a pretty big turning point. They have a lot more free reign to put like X-Men and Fantastic Four characters in MCU movies now, and that's exactly what they're planning on doing. We have an upcoming Fantastic Four movie that takes place both in the 60s and an alternate universe, and Pedro Pascal is going to be playing Reed Richards in that one.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yep. And so there's been some other things. So obviously this year the only big movie was Deadpool and Wolverine, and then on the TV show side of things we have Agatha All Along coming out in October, just in time for Halloween, because that's a show about witches. And Agatha Harkness was one of the main villains of WandaVision. She introduces Wanda to this book called The Darkhold, and she's a bad witch. And so we're going to follow her and her villainous schemes in Agatha All Along. And then things are going to kick off again next year with Captain America Brave New World, the next Captain America movie. And this one, after the events of Endgame and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, sees Falcon as the new Captain America.
Didn't we get confirmation that it was Harrison Ford that would be playing the Red Hulk?
Yes, so Harrison Ford is replacing the guy who passed away as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, and he is going to be the Red Hulk in this movie too. Yes, it was, and at Comic-Con, when he came out on stage, he did like a Hulk roar to get everyone excited.
Nice.
Which is like a weird thing for Harrison Ford to do. He's usually a lot more stoic than that,
Yeah.
But he admitted he wanted a piece of the Marvel pie. He said, it seems like everyone's having fun, and I want to get in on that. So
right, that's fair enough.
Yeah, so the trailer for Captain America Brave New World, I saw it during Deadpool and Wolverine. It looks so good. I like the
Okay.
idea. There's a great part in the trailer where he reminds him, he's like, "You're not Steve Rogers," and he's like, "No, you're right, I'm not." And then it cuts to this bit where he pulls out his wings and starts flying, and is like, "Yeah, this is a Cap with wings," you know. So that's really cool. Like, I'm looking forward to it. All the character development they did for Falcon and Bucky in Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to pay off here. And it's going to pay off in another way, too, because we're also getting Thunderbolts, which is basically Marvel's Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And this is a team of misfits made up of different characters, different, like, villains and anti-heroes from different movies. So it's going to have Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's going to have Taskmaster from Black Widow, as well as Red Guardian and Yelena, which are the characters played by David Harbour and Florence Pugh.
Deadpool.
No, not Deadpool, not in this one. But I do have a theory about something coming up that he's going to be in, I think.
Oh.
But Thunderbolts is like the Misfits Rogue Gallery character. So, like, Black Widow was a movie that they released that after she died in Infinity War, but it takes place before Civil War, so it's a flashback, but it introduces you to her sister Yelena and her father Alexei, aka the Red Guardian. And Yelena, her sister, basically becomes the new Black Widow in the MCU TV show Hawkeye, where Kate Bishop becomes the new Hawkeye, because the Thunderbolts are being put together by this woman named Madame Hydra, who is played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and she's been showing up in credit scenes of different movies and TV shows to gather together a group of anti-heroes to build a little task force. Because she's basically the Amanda Waller of this story.
Makes sense, yeah.
And she shows up in a credit scene of Black Widow to tell Yelena that she knows who's responsible for her sister's death, and then shows her a picture of Hawkeye, which leads to Yelena hunting down Hawkeye in his TV show, and her and Kate Bishop getting into it. So she recruits them. She recruits also in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they introduced a character named John Carver, who, after Falcon initially turns down being the new Cap, the government gives it to this guy named John Carver, but he can't handle it. He actually ends up killing someone with the shield, and there's a very prominent scene where he pulls the shield up and there's blood dripping off of it, and it's almost horrifying because that is not what Cap stood for. And so basically they have to take him down, and Falcon does become the new Cap, and John Carver becomes an anti-hero vigilante character known as U.S. Agent, and gets hired onto the Thunderbolts as well. So there's a couple of different things going on here. I'm kind of excited for this because it's such a weird crossover thing that, like, and I love David Harbour and Florence Pugh, and I think I love their characters in this. So I thought Ghost was a really cool villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man 2, and I thought she was woefully underused, and I'm glad to see her come back, because her powers of just being able to phase through things is really cool. So that's a thing that's happening. Here's where I think Deadpool and Wolverine are actually going to come back into the picture, where they're actually going to be a part of the MCU. There is there's 2 Avengers movies coming up, but I'm actually going to talk about the second one first. It's called Avengers Secret Wars. And if you know the storyline from the comics, Secret Wars is a multiversal war between several heroes and villains.
Okay.
So my theory is that they're going to bring in Deadpool and Wolverine for Secret Wars. I think Avengers Secret Wars that they're building up here to is going to be the next Infinity War, because it's going to be the great culmination of everything they've been building up to recently. Now, granted, they had to pull a South Park and rewrite their plans, because Jonathan Majors had to go and get himself into legal trouble for domestic abuse, and so they had to undo the whole Kang story, and so no more Kang the Conqueror. So now, instead of Kang the Conqueror, our main big bad is going to be Doctor Doom.
Played by none other than Robert Downey Jr.
Yes, they're bringing back Robert Downey Jr. to play Doctor Doom, which means that he'll be a multiversal variant, since Tony Stark is dead in the main timeline. By the way, now that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is actually the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse, the main story that we've been following this whole time, starting with Iron Man up to Endgame and all that, that's considered the sacred timeline. The main timeline, Earth 616.
Okay.
That is, and they kind of touch on that a bit in Deadpool. They call it the sacred timeline. They also call it the sacred timeline in Loki. The TVA calls it the sacred timeline. So it's like, in other words, it's the most important timeline. But now that Disney bought out Fox and all that, a lot of the X-Men stuff and the Fantastic Four stuff and all that other former Fox stuff, it's all part of the multiverse now. Like, it's all canon now. So, yeah. And that'll, when you finally get to see Deadpool and Wolverine, that'll really come into fruition, because Deadpool and Wolverine is an MCU movie.
Yeah.
So, so, yeah. So I think you'll like that. And so, basically, we're going to get, so now, instead of Avengers Kang Dynasty, we're getting Avengers Doomsday.
Okay, that makes sense.
And what I'm excited for this is because we know some old heads are still going to be around, like Thor. Thor still has a contract. Chris Hemsworth is still around for this. So, all I can imagine is, like, some of the characters from the sacred timeline, from the earlier phases, who are still alive, when they see the face of Tony Stark on this multiversal Doctor Doom villain, I think it's going to cause some emotional conflict, and I think that's part of why they went with this. Like, imagine Thor fighting Doctor Doom, and then he sees Tony's face. I can picture it now. He sees Tony's face, and he's like, Stark? And he hesitates for a minute, and then Doctor Doom gets a hit in on him, That's, the shit writes itself.
Yeah, it does.
And I can just picture that there's going to be some emotional turmoil.
Oh yeah,
so I'm excited.
Absolutely.
I'm excited for that, but I'm also excited for the concept of Doctor Doom, or not just Doctor Doom, but the Secret Wars being a multiversal thing, because that means that they're gonna, from what I understand, their plan is very ambitious for this. It's gonna be even bigger than Infinity War. They're pulling in everyone who's still alive and characters from other universes that they've introduced.
God damn.
This is gonna be a full-scale multiversal war. This is going to be Marvel's version of DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, by the way, so there's a show on HBO Max called Yellowstone. Just a side tangent real quick, but there's a show on HBO Max called Yellowstone, or Jellystone, I think. Jellystone. It's a play on old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. It's got a bunch of, like, Yogi Bear, Quick Draw McGraw, and all that, and like a new animation style. Anyways, they have a special crossover event with Cartoon Network coming up called Crisis on Infinite Mirths, and they're bringing back several super old cartoon characters from Cartoon Network for this, and their original voice actors are reprising their roles. And we're talking Dexter's Laboratory, Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, and Ed and Eddie. Johnny Bravo, a few, and they're even bringing back some obscure ones that people don't remember very well, like Whatever Happened to Robot Jones,
right?
For this, and Time Squad, which is one you admitted you didn't remember.
Yeah.
So, so that's gonna be cool. But I'm looking forward to that. I haven't watched any of Jellystone, but I'm definitely gonna watch that special. So, anyways, back on track though. This Secret Wars is probably going to be the biggest thing that the MCU has ever done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't wait.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they even reached out to previous multiversal crossover characters and brought them back, like the other two Spider-Men, for example.
Yeah.
Like they did. They still got things to do with that. And there's so many loose ends that they've introduced in Phase 4 of the MCU that they have yet to tie up, like the Eternals caused a giant celestial to be sticking out of the face of the Earth. Which I guess they're gonna touch on a little bit in the new Captain America, but not a lot.
Okay.
Doctor Strange 2 introduced like a new multiversal travel character at the end of the movie, and gave Doctor Strange a third eye, and we haven't seen anything with that yet. They're planting a lot of seeds that have yet to come to fruition because they haven't gotten there story-wise yet, and since they had to scrap all the Kang stuff, they just basically hit the reset button. That's why I think they only did Deadpool this year, so they had enough time to go back and rewrite their plans and hit the reset button. And then they come out to Comic-Con with all of this like crazy-ass news, and the biggest surprise you could possibly imagine with Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, right, yeah, absolutely.
It's absolutely insane. So I gotta be honest, after Endgame, a lot of the MCU did kind of fall off a bit. There's some great stuff in there. WandaVision is phenomenal. Spider-Man No Way Home is phenomenal. But there's some low points too. And a lot of people disagree on what was good and bad. Mm-hmm. I love She-Hulk. A lot of people I know love She-Hulk. A lot of fragile and insecure men did not like She-Hulk.
Right.
I love, but there were some low points. The second Black Panther was nowhere near as good as the first one because Chadwick Boseman died, mm-hmm. and there wasn't much they could do about that. I thought Thor: Love and Thunder was actually like the second weakest Thor movie out of all of them, with Dark World being the worst. Ragnarok is still the best one, in my opinion.
Sure.
Yeah, there was a low, but there was good points too. I love Shang-Chi. Not everyone did, but I thought it was fucking beautiful. It was one of my favorites. It's underrated. But and they fixed the Mandarin shit from Iron Man 3 in that movie
Fair
too.
enough.
But yeah, there were definitely some low points. Secret Invasion wasn't that great. I love Miss Marvel. I loved the Marvels
and Miss Marvel
well.
was
That was
great.
Yeah. So, and I'm excited to see them come into Secret Wars too. Like, it's gonna be everybody, I bet. Like Secret Wars. Yeah, it's gonna be everybody, and I'm excited to see them all make a comeback, or at least I'm hoping it's everybody. I don't want this to be another like let's build up, but they did it with Infinity War. Infinity War literally brought in everyone, and anyone it didn't bring in came in Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
So, so they didn't miss a beat there. So I'm excited to see that. So the two biggest things here are the next Avengers movies, and they're coming out in 2025. That's Doomsday, and 2026 is Secret Wars. So it's not that far away for something that they've been building up to for a while. I think the MCU is back.
Yeah.
This feels like it's back.
It does
to me. And maybe that's what they meant by Deadpool and Wolverine being like a pivotal MCU movie, because Deadpool and Wolverine, I think, is technically the first movie in the new phase that they just started. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's because it's the premiere of the next phase. But it does feel like a movie that's saying goodbye to the past and hello to the future.
I mean,
in a lot of ways, tonally. So. Yeah.
There was in the first trailer that dropped during the Super Bowl, Deadpool calls himself Marvel Jesus.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Also, there's a broke down 20th Century Fox logo in the void, and what makes that even funnier is in MCU lore, like I said earlier, the void is where the TVA, when the TVA prunes somebody or something or a timeline, they use their little magic sticks to prune them. They don't die. They get transported to a place called the Void, where they get eaten alive by a giant smoke monster known as Azeroth. And it was funny to see the 20th Century Fox logo in the Void as their way of basically saying that Disney killed the Fox side of things.
Right, yeah.
It's funny. There is a lot of, let's just say Deadpool is very happy to be joining the MCU and putting Fox behind him in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, although he admits that he joined at kind of a low point. So, and there are some stabs at the multiverse stuff in there too. Even though they're definitely going to keep doing it, because you can't do Secret Wars without the multiverse. You just can't. It's a huge part of the story. Deadpool, from what I remember in the comics, though, Deadpool plays a pivotal role in Secret Wars in the comics. So I 100% believe that him and Wolverine are going to be in Secret Wars. And if they're not, that's a huge missed opportunity that would definitely lower my score for that movie. So,
right.
So I gotta be honest, though, everything that's coming up, I'm excited for. We're getting a new Captain America, and granted, it's not Steve Rogers, but it doesn't fucking have to be, because Falcon is cool, too. Well, what's better than Captain America? A flying Captain America,
Right,
Falcon, Anthony Mackie as Falcon has always been one of my favorite sidekick characters in the whole series, And I'm glad I think Cap made the right choice when he chose him over Bucky, and if you understand Bucky, he didn't want it anyways. Bucky didn't want that shield. And that's what Falcon and the Winter Soldier is about, is them fighting over who's going to take it. And he's really like, I don't fucking want it, And Bucky is going to be part of the Thunderbolts instead. So that's another reason to watch that. Sebastian Stan will be back in the Thunderbolts. So I'm excited for the new Captain America. I'm excited to see Harrison Ford as a Red Hulk. And that movie's also going to bring back Evangeline Lilly, I think it is, as... No, she's the Wasp. I can't remember who the actress is, but she played Betsy Ross in the Edward Norton Hulk movie. So, Betty Ross or whatever. So, she's going to be back in this one, too, I think. But yeah, I'm excited for that, and I am excited for the Thunderbolts because I like the idea of a Marvel Suicide Squad. I'm hoping that they let it be R-rated so they can get away with a little more, and I'm excited because I genuinely like these Rogues Gallery anti-hero villain characters, Bucky the Winter Soldier. We've been following him for years. I fucking love David Harbour and Florence Pugh. They're both fantastic in everything they're in, so they're gonna steal the show in that movie. I'm very much looking forward to that. Oh, also, I almost forgot. Giancarlo Esposito is gonna be in, and I'm always butchering his name, but you know what I'm talking about. Gus Fring. He's gonna be in the next Captain America movie too.
Nice.
He plays a mercenary named Sidewinder, who's a leader of a secret organization called the Serpent Society.
Okay.
So, I think you're gonna... Don't worry, those are just names. There's no actual snakes involved. They're just... In the comics, I think they had snake-related powers, but in this, they're just mercenaries. They touched with that a bit in Luke Cage on Netflix, too, because one of the main villains of that was Diamondback.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so they all just use snake names, but they're just mercenaries. Like Diamondback, Sidewinder, Cobra, their names. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see him in it because his character was a big mystery at first. He was like, we knew he was going to be in it, but they were keeping it under wraps. And at Comic-Con, he was so happy to announce what the big mystery was. So,
makes sense.
So that more or less covers all the big stuff that they came out with. So I want to ask you real quick, what confirmed upcoming MCU and or just Marvel in general related content are you the most excited for here? We got the new Captain America, we got Thunderbolts, we got Doomsday, Secret Wars, Agatha All Along, and Fantastic Four.
I think the three most things I'm most excited for are Doomsday, Secret Wars, and Fantastic Four.
I'm looking forward to all of it. After seeing the trailer for the new Captain America, I'm actually more excited for that than I thought I would be.
I need to see the trailer before I can be excited for it, because I'm not really a huge Captain America fan, but
that's fair. But let's remember too that Captain America movies have actually been some of the best ones in the MCU.
That's fair.
Winter Soldier and Civil War were both Captain America movies.
Yeah, they were.
And those are considered top tier MCU.
Yeah, absolutely.
But those were also directed by the Russo brothers, who did Infinity War and Endgame, and they're coming back for Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Fucking
so
bet.
That's extremely exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. But mostly, I just kind of want to see Harrison Ford as a Red Hulk.
Yeah,
That's the big thing for me there.
That does sound interesting. I'm excited for that.
I feel like you would be more excited for Thunderbolts if you had seen the origins of some of these characters. Like, if you had seen Black Widow, you would probably be excited for this, because those two characters, Yelena and Red Guardian, are phenomenal characters.
I need to watch the Black Widow movie.
It was better than I thought it would be. A lot of people hate on it, but I thought it was decent. It was a nice little peek into her personal life,
right,
in that movie.
Yeah.
And a great send off to that character who they couldn't bring back to life.
Yeah.
You know. Unfortunately. Because her death was part of the Soul Stone and couldn't be like undone with the second snap.
Yeah.
So some character, it does feel sometimes with the multiverse stuff like there's no stakes anymore, because you can just bring people back to life who have died, and by dragging in a doppelganger from another universe. But they do keep some deaths permanent, and I think hers is going to be one of the ones that stays permanent, because her sister has basically replaced her role as Black Widow now.
Yeah.
So Florence Pugh is the new Black Widow. And that's another thing they're building up to that I'm excited for, that I'm hoping we get to see eventually, is the Young Avengers, where all these kids are coming in and taking the reins from some of these other, and so that's like Kate Bishop is the new Hawkeye, Yelena is the new Black Widow, Thor has a daughter, I think I remember seeing.
Yeah.
The Hulk has a son, I think they showed in She-Hulk.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a few, well, Thor's adopted daughter. Yeah. And there's a few, Miss Marvel, as well. She's part of that. So, America Chavez, who they introduced in Doctor Strange 2, her power is she can open portals to the multiverse. So, yeah, she's a multiversal traveler. That's her thing. So, yeah, eventually we're going to be getting these Young Avengers. So, now that we know what we're excited for, let me ask, what are you hoping to see from them in the future that hasn't been announced, but something you would like to see them do? Something they maybe haven't touched on yet? Oh, that's right. We are getting Daredevil again, too. Daredevil's getting his Disney Plus show.
So
with a yellow suit instead of a red one this time. He gets his yellow suit in She-Hulk, by the way. Daredevil is in She-Hulk.
No. I mean, I know... I don't have any comments. I don't know.
Okay. By the way, since Daredevil since you like Deadpool, I think you would like She-Hulk, because it's the same style of humor. It's the fourth wall breaking meta humor. She has basically the same fourth wall breaking power as him. And in the comics, at one point, she even leapt out of one panel into another to change the story. And she does something very similar to that in this show, where she actually leaves her own show and jumps into the writer's room to change the story. It's also, if you remember Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law on Adult Swim, it's also like that, where she's a superhero lawyer who's representing other superheroes. It's a comedy.
Okay.
It's a comedy show. And Mark Ruffalo is in it as the Hulk, because he trains her when she first gets her powers. There's some funny shit in there in one episode about a shape-shifting Asgardian. But what's really important here is that Daredevil appears in a few episodes of this show, and he gets his new yellow suit that sets him up for his upcoming Daredevil Resurrection show that he's getting on Disney Plus. So that's going to be fun. Disney is definitely more and more okay with doing more violent and R-rated stuff for Marvel now, because they did Moon Knight, they did Deadpool, and, they showed some blood on Cap's shield and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That might have been the first time they've shown actual blood in the MCU. or at least to that degree anyway, to that level of like shock value. And Moon Knight was very violent because he kept having blackouts and he'd wake up and everyone around him would be dead and torn apart. And then of course Deadpool. So I have faith that Daredevil on Disney Plus is going to be just like it was on Netflix. Especially after watching, because Wilson Fisk, Kingpin, is actually in Hawkeye, and he's just as, like, horrifying in that as he was in Daredevil. So, it was interesting. They basically set up the new Daredevil show in 2 other shows by putting Kingpin in Hawkeye and putting Daredevil in She-Hulk, but it works. And I'm excited to see where they go with that. So that's another thing I'm excited for is Daredevil, because if you had any love for the show when it was on Netflix, then this will definitely be something you should be excited for, which I am. I don't know if I have any particular hopes for where they go with the future either. I can't think off the top of my head of any characters they haven't introduced that I would want yet, or any storylines they haven't tackled that I would want to see, especially with Secret Wars coming. I guess my only wish would be maybe write an actual ending to this before I die.
Right.
Just like let me see it come to a finite conclusion, but they're not. That shit's gonna be still going long after we're dead, just like the comics. This is the live action comic books now. This is where we're at. You know.
Pretty much.
So that's just how it is. So all right then, before we wrap up, just a quick I want to take a look back at the past of the MCU leading up to now, all the movies, TV shows, and all that, and tell me what are your, out of all the movies and TV shows that they've done, what are your top, let's say, 3 to 5 favorites in no particular order?
Okay. It has to be in the MCU.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
In the sacred timeline. Because technically it's all the MCU now because it's a multiverse, but let's focus on the sacred timeline.
Right. Okay.
I can tell you 2 of mine right off the bat are Infinity War and Doctor Strange, like the first Doctor Strange.
I have to say the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Those are each of...
Out of the 3 of them, though, if you had to choose which one is your favorite out of the 3 of them?
Oh, the third one, hands down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I still have a soft spot for the first one, but I can see a strong argument for the third one for sure. Absolutely.
I'd have to say... Guardians 3.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2.
Okay. 2,
Yeah,
huh? All
Iron
right.
Man 2. Thor: Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder over Ragnarok. Okay.
Ragnarok is in there too.
Oh yeah, I would definitely... Ragnarok is in mine, I think. Thor, Ragnarok, Doctor Strange, Infinity War.
How many am I at? Am I at 4 or 5?
I think that's 4. Yeah.
If I have to pick one more, I'd have to say... No Way Home.
Ooh, fair. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I couldn't leave that one out.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Infinity War or Endgame there.
In all fairness, I have not completely finished Endgame. I finished Infinity War.
Okay.
Endgame is a long fucking movie.
It is, because, it takes place 5 years later and they're bringing a bunch of dead people back to life. It's,
that.
Yeah. But it was the great culmination of the Thanos story, that's for sure. And a lot of fun time travel stuff in that one.
Yeah.
That one's cool because they get to time travel back to scenes from previous movies, so it's like a greatest hits montage. So that's pretty fun. But I do like Infinity War overall better, more, I would say. So yeah, Infinity War, the first Doctor Strange, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, I would say for me. I would put WandaVision up there if I'm gonna squeeze in at least one of the shows, and I'd say it'd have to be that one. Definitely WandaVision. That show is superb. And yeah, I'd say Spider-Man: No Way Home is probably up there too. I'd have to agree with that. Yeah, that one's definitely up there for me as well.
Right.
Yeah. So, man, though. But yeah, it's been a long time. The first movie in the MCU, Iron Man 1, came out in 2008.
Dude, I remember where I was when I saw that movie. I was at so I was on a trip down to Florida to see my dad. We went to this movie theater somewhere in Lakeland, Florida called Mugs and Movies. And it was legitimately a restaurant, sit-down diner, and they had the movie up on the big fucking screen.
Okay.
We were sitting having dinner while watching Iron Man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And fun fact, that movie theater is right down the street from the mall from that mall scene in Edward Scissorhands. I've seen that mall in person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Before we wrap up here, I do want to throw in a addendum from a previous episode. Before I forget, I have to correct myself on something that So when we did the soundtracks episode and I brought up some Family Guy songs, there were two songs where I incorrectly referenced their origins, and I want to correct myself. Shapoopy the original was not a Groucho Marx song. I was right that it was a Broadway song, and I sent you the original version of it from when it first came out in 1962. And if you ever watch that, you can see for yourself that the song is word for word exactly the same.
Okay.
And that was from a Broadway musical called The Music Man. And the character is played by, who sings the song is played by an actor called Buddy Hackett. So I was definitely way off on the Groucho Marx thing. But the other thing I want to correct is one of the songs that Herbert sings in the show, Somewhere That's Green, I said was from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. This one is a more understandable mistake, because there's a similar word here. It is not from that. It is actually from something else called Little Shop of Horrors. Is what it's from. So.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I just wanted to throw those couple of corrections in there. I think I had something else to say on the Marvel stuff, but I forgot. I was just going to say that in 4 years, it'll have been 20 years that the MCU has been going. And I'm kind of hoping they do something special for their 20-year anniversary.
Me too.
So, that would be cool. I really thought, Infinity War and Endgame was the great culmination of everything that came before. They called that the Infinity Gauntlet Saga, and that makes sense. And that was the first 3 phases of Marvel. Now, the story that they're doing with phases 4, 5, and 6 is called the Multiverse Saga. So, which makes sense with where they're going with it. Yeah, so. Alright. Well, that'll be it for this episode. Probably one of the shortest topics we've ever done, but it works for what we were talking about. So, anyways, let me know if you're watching this on YouTube in the comments below what you're most excited about coming up in the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. And if you enjoyed the video, remember to click that like button. Or you can also send me an email at podcastoversoul@gmail.com or hit me up on the Twitters at Oversoul53.
So you can find me over on Twitter at The Vaping Fiend and over on TikTok at The Vaping Fiend.
Yep. And as always, Have a good time. Stay safe out there, folks. And we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.